It's the 23rd of December, and here we are, just one other ghost story to go after this one. Alright, so this is the 24 ghost stories for Christmas, I should mention that. We're going to talk about my favourite film of all time, It's a Wonderful Life. Now, before you jump down my throat, yes, I am claiming that this is kind of a ghost story, but it's Christmas time and it has a supernatural element and it has a dead person in it who is an angel but who obviously lived previously. He says he's 200 years old. He is technically a ghost as far as I can see, so it might be a strenuous link, a tenuous link even, strenuous too. But I'm going with it. I really want to talk about this. I actually went to see It's a Wonderful Life the other night at the Glasgow Film Theatre, and it was wonderful. I love doing that at Christmas. I did it last year as well. Last year I did it on Christmas Eve, and everybody laughs and cries and erupts in applause at the end of it. And I just love those special screenings where only fans of the film are there, and you see people there who have never seen the film before. So you see a few people, like my friend's wife was there with us, and she had never seen it before. And great to see the reaction that it gets from people that have never watched this amazing film. It was directed by Frank Capra. It was released in 1946. It stars Jimmy Stewart. Not only is this my favourite film of all time, Jimmy Stewart is also my favourite actor of all time. So it's just absolutely wonderful. It has Donna Reed in it as the love interest, Lionel Barrymore as the villain, Henry Travers as the Clarence, the lovable angel, the ghost in this story. And it's based on a short story called The Gift by, I'm trying to remember the author's name, Van Doren Stern, something like that. I can't remember exactly, forgive me, but it is based on a short story. There's a lovely story to what happened with that actually. The author of that story, I don't think had really done very well, and actually sent the story out as a Christmas gift to people. Like, they'd send cards. They sent the story, the gift, to people, and it ended up just falling into the right hands, and a studio, I think it was RKO originally, bought the rights to it and then sold it to who was it that did It's a Wonderful Life? Was it Liberty? Or I can't remember. Anyway, so It's a Wonderful Life. It's about a man called George Bailey, and the film starts off with God, not God, sorry. Let's start that again. Angels in heaven looking down on George Bailey, and they are going to assign a guardian angel to him because all of these people all around the town of Bedford Falls all of the people there have been praying for him, and it's obviously got their attention. Why are all these people praying for this one man? Why why does he need their help? So they're going to assign this angel Clarence, who doesn't have his wings yet because he's never really been successful as an angel. You've got to have a successful case where you really help someone to get your wings. He's never been able to do it, but they're going to send Clarence down there because they think he's best suited for the job. So what we see is we see a flashback of all of George's life, the important things that happen in George's life. We see him as a young boy saving his little brother who falls in ice, and he jumps into the ice and saves his brother, and he goes deaf in one ear because of it. But his brother later on in life would go on to be a World War II hero and would shoot down two planes as they were just going on an attack run on a ship, and saved all the lives of all the men on a personnel carrier. And we then see George working in a local sort of chemists and cafe, and for Old Man Gower. And Old Man Gower is drunk, his boss is drunk, and his boss has put in poison into someone's prescription medicine for George to go and deliver. but George doesn't deliver it because he sees that it's poison that he's put in. Um, and he finds out the old man Gower has just lost his son, and that's why he's drunk and he's upset and he's made this terrible mistake. He didn't mean to do it. It's just, you know, obviously had like rat poison or something like that in the back. So we get to see that, and we basically get to see all the things as George goes on, all the little things that George did, the little decisions that he made throughout his life to help people, to just be kind towards people, and it's like the ripple effect that goes on and affects everybody else because he's been, you know, he's shown acts of kindness towards those around him. We see him meet up with Mary, who he ends up marrying and all this sort of stuff. But we get to see he has a family, loads of things, but he's constantly at odds with a man called Potter, played by Lionel Barrymore, who is fantastic. And this, he actually played Scrooge in the film, and which I haven't actually seen, but I read about it and I can totally see him playing Scrooge. And Potter owns like all of Bedford Falls, apart from this little building in Lone, which George's family runs, and they constantly try and make sure that people aren't getting their debts called up, they aren't getting chucked out of their houses, they aren't, you know, they don't really make a profit. They maybe just cut even, break even rather, cut. They break even, and they just care about the people in the town, and whereas Potter wouldn't, he would just foreclose on people, chuck them out of their houses, make them homeless and all that. But this little building in Lone is the only sort of shining light in the town, which stops Potter from controlling everything. And throughout the film, there's this tussle between Potter, just money grabber, alone, miserable, wanting to destroy the building in Lone, and George and his family doing everything to try and save it, not because it's their business, but because of what it means to the people of Bedford Falls. Anyway, I don't want to ruin it if you haven't seen it, but we see all these things that George does throughout his life and grows up older, and we see him played by Jimmy Stewart, and what happens is that something bad happens. Money goes missing from the building in Lone. It's not his fault, but money goes missing, and he thinks he's going to go to jail, and that Potter's going to, because Potter, even though Potter does own a small section of the building in Lone, so he's like trying to phone in the police, and he's just trying to do anything to bring it down or to own it himself. And because this money's been missing, there's a warrant out for George's arrest. He'll go to jail for fraud, and his family are already pretty poor, so he decides to kill himself, and because he's got an insurance policy. And that's when Clarence the Angel turns up. Clarence jumps into the water. I'm telling you the whole story now. Anyway, the angel eventually gives him, George says, "I wish I'd never been born," and the angel makes that true. And it's about how George gets to see his entire life as if he'd never been there. He gets to see, he goes round the town and he meets people and he sees people. It's not like A Christmas Carol where Scrooge can't interact with the visions around him. He's in the town, he can interact with people, but they don't know who he is. His wife doesn't know who he is, you know, his family don't know who he is. And because of all the little things and big things he did throughout his life, he gets to see how terrible things are around him, or would have been without him being there. And what's wonderful about the film is that it's about a man filled with regret, absolute regret, a man who always wanted to leave Bedford Falls and wanted to go and do great things and see the world and really build things, be an engineer, and he had all these aspirations, but he never did what he wanted to do. He always did what in his heart he knew was right. And that's what the film is about. It's about following your heart, it's about doing what's right, and it's about seeing that even the smallest act of kindness can have such a massive ripple effect. I probably ruined half the film for you if you haven't watched it, but there's still tons I've not mentioned. The thing is, people forget about It's Wonderful Life is it's actually very funny. There's some great comedy in this film, but also some of the most moving scenes in cinema history, in my opinion. Some people find this film overly sentimental, Frank Capra as a director was known for being overly sentimental. It's a Wonderful Life did not do well when it initially came out. A lot of people felt that Frank Capra was out of touch. He retired very young from filmmaking because he felt he couldn't keep up with those who just wanted to shock. He wanted to really tell stories and talk about humanity, and he felt that he couldn't do that anymore because cinema had changed and the public taste had changed. People wanted something that was a little bit harder edged. But It's a Wonderful Life has very, very dark elements to it. I mean, you have a man there trying to commit suicide, and you see a man at his very bottom. And I think as well, if any film is ever an advert for showing that those who feel suicidal and those who perhaps even do commit suicide, that there should be a level of sympathy, not thinking that they're selfish, not thinking that they are nasty, that they genuinely think that the world would be better without them. So they think through their suicide they're making things better for other people, even if it's all messed up in their head, and that's not true. And obviously this is the case. George doesn't realise that the world would be a much darker place without him in it. It's just it is my favourite film of all time. I watch it every Christmas. Sometimes I'm a little bit saddened that it is a Christmas film because I don't like watching Christmas films that at any other time in the year apart from sort of like December. It gets me from the mood for Christmas, but after that I don't really want to watch a Christmas film because it just doesn't sit right with me because it's not in the build up to Christmas or it isn't Christmas time. So sometimes I'm sad about that because it has such an effect on me that and I love the film so much that I would love to be able to watch it throughout the year, but I don't really get to do it. But I suppose that makes it special, and I know that I'm going to get to see it throughout the Christmas period. And I've already watched it once this year. I normally only watch it once, but I had such a great time at that screening the other night. I'm going to watch it again. I'm thinking I'm going to watch it tomorrow night, Christmas Eve, because it's I cannot convey to you how highly I regard this film. It's just so many iconic scenes, and people talk about Vertigo as Jimmy Stewart's greatest performance. Jimmy Stewart was great in everything that he did, but I think It's a Wonderful Life is his greatest performance. Greatest actor of all time, in my opinion, and his greatest performance in the greatest film of all time. Really, come on, guys. Does it get any better than this? No, it doesn't. Like I say, some people prefer, for example, like the hard edge of like 70s cinema and onwards. And then other people don't like the sentimentality of like 1980s cinema. It's a Wonderful Life gets it right. It gets sentiment right in my view. It's got the right mix of humanity and reality and fantasy and comedy and a sort of dark pessimism and optimism within it. And it's just one of the most uplifting films ever made. Now I could talk about this film for an hour. I've already been talking for Jesus Christ 13 minutes. I'm really sorry. There are a lot of parallels between this and A Christmas Carol. Scrooge effectively gets to see what the world would be like if he was dead at one point, and George Bailey gets to see what the world would be like if he'd never been born. So it's a similar sort of story. It's got the supernatural element to it as well. Absolutely love it. I'm really impressed that I've got through this review because my throat is killing me because I've still got this man flu. Why do men get flu so bad? I don't know. But anyway, it's not going to spoil my Christmas because I'm in a Christmassy mood and I love It's a Wonderful Life and I hope you love it as well. And I'll be back tomorrow with the final entry in my 24 Ghost Stories for Christmas. And I will see you all then. Merry Christmas.